Hello, friends. Welcome to the show. I am Neon Poison, aka the Big Blue Boat. We have three special guests joining us today. First, Haiyooo. He was an admiral. Hello, from Zan, one of the biggest corps in EVE. He is also a streamer, which I will share his link in the description. Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Rand, who has recently been a rising star within the military ranks, getting one promotion after another. If you listen to our latest episode, you remember that Ella and Zell announced Rand's latest promotion to be a regional commander. Hello, Commander Rand.
Hey, Neon. How you doing today?
Good. How are you? Okay. And
Good.
last but not least, appearing as a guest today, she was one of the co-hosts during our first few episodes and one of the first FCs to lead Alliance fleets back in the old days. She has recently been promoted to regional general role, specializing in station assault and external defense. There's more. She's also a star instructor of EVE University, or Golden Horde University, or Golden Horde Campus, Miss Evalia.
Good evening.
Good evening. All right, thank you all for joining us. Let's jump right into it. Haiyooo and I have been talking about doing an episode before we even started this, about, I said 2 months ago. And if you remember, he even came in and said hi during our first episode. Now, after 10 episodes, we finally found the time to do this. And let me tell you, we couldn't have planned for a better time because there's a lot going on in the Alliance, and especially in the military side. Again, Haiyooo was one of the first 3 admirals in the Alliance, which is the highest ranking position in our military. So without further ado, Mr. Haiyooo, tell us what in the world has been going on.
Well, I have to tell you that first filming you guys did, I had my kids in the bath, and I was joining on my phone from watching them take a bath to make sure nobody was drowning. So it was a bit of a chaotic thing, but I wanted to jump in, say hello, and wish everybody the best. No, so much been going on. We've developed a lot of new FCs, and we've been rising through the ranks incredibly fast rate. In fact, we were just talking earlier before pre-gaming the show here, and how Rand and Polobot were some of the, I don't know, what do you want to call them? Young Jedis coming up through the temple, right? They just done amazing work and really took full steam ahead in leadership roles and content creation. You know, fleet commanding has always been fun for me, but because I enjoy having fun with other people, right? And in EVE and in this sandbox, we call it a sandbox game, but really it's almost a military simulator in my mind. I mean, you're building ships with guns and weapons that speaks to military. Yeah. So that's kind of how I look at it. And I want people to have a good time. So, you know, starting in EVE Online in 2003, mining in my little bantam outside of Jeddah, not knowing my head from a hole in the ground, to, you know, being in NCDot, and some of the bigger Alliance, BTEC-R, and all the fights up in the north when the goons kicked us out of the north. I mean, I was there. I was the pinnacle. I was their guy for a while there, before I started to have children of my own, and I retired from EVE Online because that is a full-time commitment, right? So found EVE Echoes and casual EVE, and I thought, oh my God, this could be amazing. I hope it doesn't suck my life away again.
And then, too late.
That's exactly what it will do.
Yeah. And then,
hello, Eve.
well, you know, I would say Echoes doesn't really suck your life away. Discord does. So I don't know what happened.
That's fair. That's fair. Echoes was not a problem until you get heavily invested in the Discord aspect and the coordination on a larger scale with people. That's
I don't know what you're talking about. I have definitely not spent approximately 8 hours a day in voice on Discord the last week.
Right.
Only 8 hours? Dude, you gotta teach me secrets, because if I could narrow it down to 8 hours, I would be good.
Well, and I was on 11 different servers just for the Golden Horde at one point.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what am I doing here? You know, I feel like I have more muted channels than I have channels I actually pay attention to, because you have to it that way.
Yeah.
Or you'll never get anything done. So, but it really turned into a whole new animal, because I started week one. Right, not day one. I wasn't a day one Echoes guy, but week one, and I saw the mega recruitment thread on Reddit. I found the Golden Horde. Actually, let's let me back up. I found Eve Echoes. I'm gonna admit it. I'm a nasty Captain Benzie watcher. I watch his videos. So the guy got me in. I was like, I should take a look at that game. So I saw their mega thread and got in one of the corps, and I saw Zan. Which I'm really glad, because a lot of people don't know what Zan is. We're pretty quiet. Well, some of us. I mean, from Goat, let's be honest.
I was about to say.
I ate my words on that one. True. All right. Other than Goat, most of us are pretty tame. No, love you, man. But it's an older group, right? Everybody in Zan, generally speaking, is like 30 plus. So it speaks to a much more casual environment. It does mean we're definitely not as I don't want to say as active, but we're not as strict. Like, hey, here's an op, here's an op, here's an op, right? It's like, hey guys, we're drinking and chilling in comms and maybe slurping some rocks or shooting some dudes or whatever. It's just way more chill than any other corp in EVE Online I'd ever been in. So I'm glad I landed here. It's an old community, right? Zan itself has been around for 20 plus years in other games outside of EVE. So it's really kind of just fit right in. And now I'm stuck because winning one of the awards in the Corp YouTube video from NetEase, I'm getting a ship, not a ship skin, but a flag, right? An Alliance flag and a little icon on all of our stations. So I can't leave, right? That wouldn't make sense. Why do you do all that work and then not even get to enjoy the fruits of your labors, right? Because anybody who knows me, I'm not a video editor. So it took me self-learning to make that video. That was
wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Evalia, do you remember we watched it together in one of our episodes?
Yeah, I remember watching it. I did not know that. Wow, I'm impressed.
That's impressive.
Hats off to you, because I just assumed that it had been professionally done or done by someone who had experience in that realm.
No.
Yeah, it looked professional.
Well, thank you. I literally, no lie, I made some firefighting videos back in the day on my YouTube channel that were just clips of us fighting fire. There was certainly no animation, cinematics, or anything of that nature. So for
firefighting, we know you're a veteran and a firefighter. Is that
correct? That's so my start, right out of school was the military. But that quickly turned into firefighting as well and paramedic. So that's kind of where I got my start. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing the same thing every day, and you can't really get a job change as a paramedic firefighter. You can't say, okay, I don't want to do this on the streets anymore and be gone for 24 hours. So I did this little dirty thing they call nursing school, right?
What?
Yeah, man, I know, right?
Yeah.
So did that, and it's been amazing, absolutely amazing. I worked for a hospital flight team.
Wait, we lost you.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh.
Your video's gone for.
This is fun times, y'all. So
y'all are gonna have to forgive me for yawning because I'm really super tired. So just.
It's where I know.
Ignore that.
It's okay. You're back.
So essentially, I was working with a flight team, working with a nurse. I was a paramedic. That person was a nurse. They were making $25 an hour more than I was making with the same exact job description. So it's all right, cool.
Yeah.
Nursing's a no-brainer when it does that. So that's my career fields in a nutshell.
Okay. All right. So how about more about Zan?
So Grim?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep,
Grim is
the CEO.
CEO.
I don't even know. Does he have a suffix to his name? I just call him Grim. I don't even. Sorry, buddy. Pretty sure it's just Grim. Yeah.
I think so. I think it's just Grim. It always makes me think Grimbjorn the Old, though.
See, I think I had a Grim Hex guy, or maybe that's just.
But that no, it's not Grim Hex, but it makes me think Grimborn. But that's because that's from Lord of the Rings, which is a totally different thing. So that's what it makes me think of. Yeah, I play like we're here having this conversation because we're nerds.
I'm not hating. I'm just establishing facts, right? So we're all on the same page. But so yeah, and then I gave a shout out to the Goat. The Goat is our industry. I don't even know how you classify the Goat. The Goat is a machine. He reprocesses like so. So Goat established a buyback program for all the ore, and he like just manages this massive amount. Now, of course, he has a team, and Rutger being a huge part of that team, and spreadsheets online is his thing. So they just have an amazing industry program where I tried to help them at one point, and I was a scrub with only like 4 research slot, and they said that's cute. We don't really need it. So I don't even really do any stuff. I mean, I've got like the skills, and I try to help out, and they're like, "Hey, you didn't do any blueprints this month." And I'm so sorry. But no, they're so seeing as a heavy industry. That was their goal. So they have a long-term goal of being able to put their own ITC up and nullsec.
Yeah.
To supply an entire market for the Alliance and everybody else around us. Like they just that's the industry goal of Zan.
Sure. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Zan for sponsoring one of our raffle prizes.
Yep.
They sold us a ship at cost, so they didn't make any risk. So thank you guys. It was the Goat who made it happen.
He is, like I said, the machine, and he's got a machine that he's built working with him.
Yeah.
Odin Valhalla ordered 50 retrievers for us, and we had them done in like, I don't know, stupid 6 hours or something. And they're just like, wait a minute, we don't even have the money ready. The money's still under audit. I can't pay you yet. They're like, we can wait, guys. Yeah. So I was really proud of that achievement. Those guys in their industry, they're awesome.
Okay. Again, sorry about the shameless plug for the raffle. We are again grateful for anybody who has been playing. Again, half of it came out to be almost half and half. Half of it went to the winner, the Macario winner, and half of it went to the Alliance Bank, the Horde Bank. And we're running a second one. Yeah, we're going to draw in a week. When is Christmas? We're going to draw Christmas Eve, exactly a week from today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Happy, Merry early Christmas to you guys. Okay, let's come back to you soon. Haiyooo. Yeah. Let's go to Rand. Talk to us about your corp or yourself. Anything you want to share with us?
Like, I'm afraid to ask this question.
So
I know there's a lot going on, but yeah.
I've been, a relatively hardcore gamer, most of my life. Also being, among the older crowd, upper 30s myself. And back in the day with WoW.
Don't call us the older crowd, Rand. That's not nice.
I'm just saying, relative to, love you this tonight, but guys like that, Kyla, love you too.
Kyla's the best.
But we, back in the day with WoW was in a top 10 US rating guild and top 40 world. I've always been one who tries to reach for greatness, and sometimes you fail, but you achieve the best that you can by reaching for the most.
Wait. I'm sorry. Top 10 US rating. This is when was that? When was this?
Wrath of the Lich King.
Okay.
Wrath of the Lich King is Burning Crusade is when our guild really came together.
Yeah.
And started moving from like a mid-tier till Muru. We were one of the handful of guilds that was able to kill Muru pre-patch, pre-nerf.
Wow.
We killed it literally we killed him finally literally the day before they downed him. Before they nerfed him. We've been on him for like a month and just couldn't get it done, and we finally got it done. And when we moved into Wrath of the Lich King is when we really built off of that, and we were top 10 in killing, who was it, Kill Jaden or whatever the main boss there was.
Yeah, Kill Jaden.
Yeah,
because
we were top 10 US and taking him down.
I wanted to.
It was definitely there's a lot of competition there.
We have a lot of WoW players who, who are now with us, but obviously, WoW, a huge crossover. A lot of our players play WoW, and this is, again, for me personally, I was involved heavily in that as well. So good. I didn't know that. It's a surprise. It's good for you guys.
I was a resto shaman who spec enhance off spec because sometimes you needed Wind Fury for your warriors. And then when Wrath came out, I switched my main tune to a Feral Druid tank, and was just super diehard about it and was able to get the health needed to be very, very early on getting Sarth plus 3 Drakes. But I was, besides single target, just having a huge hit pull, I was a really terrible tank. I was never very good at it. So I ended up being primarily DPS for Eldred, and they made me re-gear my shaman back up, and I switched back to Resto Enhanced Shaman.
Nice. Were you guys called LGC or another name?
No, I was not part of this group at the time. That was Spike Flail, actually, was the group I was with. I'm still in their Discord to this day. Wow. Every now and then pop in and we reminisce. But no, most recently I'd been playing actually Star Trek Fleet Command. I moved into mobile gaming as my primary gaming platform because of the flexibility. You can play whenever you have time. You can sit at the bar and play a little bit. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And I've been playing Star Trek Fleet Command, and I've been doing that for some time. That game is a money sink, though, to really progress there. It is
my god, yes.
So, was somewhat...
Star Trek Fleet Command does?
Oh, I don't want to talk about how much I spent on that game.
It sounds interesting. I love Star Trek. I am one of the biggest Star Trek nerds ever.
Wow.
But I haven't even tried to play it.
Don't.
Which is a separate thing.
It's a really fun game, but to progress anywhere near the top, let's just say I could probably, if I could buy all of Zan's Industry if I just went and bought Plex with the amount that I dumped into that game.
It's easy to spend $500 in your first 3 months playing.
Really?
Me?
Yeah.
I spent $800 on one ship, and that's before I started upgrading it. So
what?
No.
That's crazy.
Okay, y'all have fun with that.
Now, the difference is your ships are permanent, right? Your ship doesn't disappear when it gets blown up, but you just repair it and you send it back out. But yeah, no. The top players, the top players have spent over hundreds of thousands of dollars on that game. So,
okay, now.
The very, very top. I am not in that tier, but so I was kind of, hitting a point where it's I'm still playing. I love the community. I still love my guys, my fellow Dolphins, but because we were a group of mid-level spenders who like to take down whales, and a group of Dolphins working as a team can take down a whale. And we did that. Shortly after we formed, actually last year on New Year's Eve, we successfully raided and stole billions of resources from one of the players who was in the 100,000 plus club. So just by working as a team, that's where that name evolved from. Here we are as a bunch of mid-level players, but if we work well together, we can take down the biggest. So I was looking for a change and had a couple of friends, one of the co-founders of Dolphin, and then also the first member who joined after the founding 5 of Dolphin, had started playing Eve Echoes, and we're like, Randy, you should check it out. Mm-hmm. And I came over and I checked it out, and I wasn't sold on it at first, but I kind of kept it on the back burner, and then had a couple of days off, had a little time off, and decided to kind of jump in and try it a little bit more. And once I got past having no EO experience, once I got past the first little initial learning curve, I just got hooked and started learning. Mike and Borg had joined LGC. I'm honestly not sure how they got hooked up with LGC, with Legacy, but they had, and they were like, yeah, just come join us here. So I did. Legacy has been around since 2017. Started with early days of Hades Star. They were a top 10 corp in Hades Star on the global leaderboards.
Wow.
They played that when Eve Echoes first came out for beta. they switched over and started playing the Eve beta. Did that until the beta got called off, and at that point, Legacy basically left and started playing Stellaris. Went and became the top alliance on the Stellaris S3 server, and then but that was just basically killing time until Eve Echoes rolled out. So Legacy, as soon as day one, was a Eve Echoes corporation.
Nice.
We things started off. I wasn't there at the very beginning, but I know at the point that I joined, we were in OP Force, and there's the stuff going on with that, and ended up being unhappy with that situation, leaving and landed in Golden Horde.
Okay, well, we'll talk more about your how'd you found the Golden Horde in a little bit, but let's go to Evalia. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so tell us about anything.
My story?
Yes, your story to start. Yeah.
I am a gamer in the sense that I have always loved and played a lot of games, but I have always tried to avoid MMOs for the fact that they do take over your life.
Yeah.
And I value my life. And so I had one prior experience with an MMO. I played SWTOR, Star Wars, The Old Republic. And it did take over my life. And so I had to stop. I had to cold turkey. I just deleted everything and was like, I'm gonna go back to my life. Oh no, Haiyooo. Come back, Haiyooo. We lost you.
It's okay.
Your poor
We need
camera.
a soundboard that's baby, come back.
Yeah. We need Kylo to sing us the songs. But then, how did I get into Eve Echo? Why am I here? Here? That's a really good question right now. So my husband had played Eve Online back in the day. And he had stopped, by the time that we got married, he had stopped playing Eve Online. He just kind of lost interest in whatever. So I had heard him talk about it here and there, and it sounded really cool, but I don't like coming into games once they've been established for a long time. I feel like it's just too much work. And MMOs are so complicated anyway. So I have steered clear from that. Well, with Eve Echoes coming out around the same time that coronavirus seemed to be happening, and so I was stuck at home, literally just stuck at home, and had nothing to do. Because all the things that would normally be occupying my life were kind of not there. And Clint had been following that Eve Echoes was in development. And so when it was ready to drop, he was like, this game is starting, in 2 days. We should get in now because getting in early is, it's more fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And he says, but it is an MMO. And I was like, well, you know what happened the last time you asked me to play an MMO? And he's like, well, we'll try. We'll see how it goes. And I was like, okay. And so since I've been stuck at home mostly, and the things that I would normally be doing, I haven't been able to do as much. So Eve has kind of been what I do through the day. And I enjoy it. It has consumed my life more so now than I would like for it to. I think a lot of that is, again, the transition from playing Eve the game, which I love, and flying with the pilots, which I love, into the discord of being able to play the game in a reasonable way. And there are structures in place that are making that more complicated than it should be for a mobile game. And so I've been playing Discord Wars for a while now, and that has taken away some of what I would like to enjoy in the game. But anyway, neither here nor there. We are here, and I am having no prior EVE experience, which we've talked about this before. Really didn't know what I was getting into as far as the mechanics of the game and what to expect. And that first taste of a fleet battle, I was just a pilot. I showed up. Raw was in command of that fleet because they were dropping their first. It was the first outpost, I think, that the Horde had dropped.
Yes.
And Raw was dropping it, and we had hostiles en route to try to blow it up. And so they called a call to arms, and we all showed up, and the excitement, the adrenaline of that epic size of battle was just I was hooked. It's an addiction.
Yes.
I live for that feeling of being with the fleet and facing down the enemy, and it, you know, it's I love it. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I love flying, and I love the pilots, and my goal is always pilot first. If my pilots don't have a good time, then I did something wrong. So that's my philosophy, is it's my responsibility as the fleet commander of any fleet to ensure that everyone's having a good time. At the end of the day, it's a game. These are pixels on a screen, and we play because we want to have fun. And so that's my responsibility toward my pilots, is to make sure that they are having fun and enjoying the game. And if that means I have to spend 10 hours a day on Discord for the last 6 days to make sure that my pilots can have fun in the game, then that's what I'm going to do.
And I still can recall that moment when you led your first Alliance fleet during that operation. And was Haiyooo, were you there too? The defense of
tell you that.
Yeah.
Which one was your first one, Evalia?
8 SPN, right?
It's been. Do you know? I honestly don't remember.
Raw was the FC for 8 spin, because that was my first call to arms. That's where I got hooked for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that,
flying with Evalia was when we blew up Cuddle Castle.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, that was your first.
Yes.
Okay.
My first several big fleets were offensive. It was go blow this up, and I was like, okay, and here we go, fly little pilots up there, blow stuff up.
By the way,
I remember on that one, I had never like blown up a citadel, and Evalia's just like, and I didn't know who Evalia was. She's like, target the Cuddle Castle. I'm like, oh, she's got a cute name for it. And then I look at it, like, oh no, it's actually named Cuddle Castle.
Nope.
Again, shout out to the Goose the Goose Swarm, Goose Federation. They are friends with me from the Goose EO, but we're obviously on different sides. But they were so funny,
so entertained.
Yes,
and that was when we were still playing by these really stringent, nobody talks in local ever when anything is ever happening rules. And so they were being like really good sports and funny, and then but whatever. It was a good time.
Yes, we all had fun. I enjoyed it so much because I could, and I could remember you. I could feel the excitement in your voice. Like it was your first like major fleet operation, and so and I think Raw basically let you run everything. He didn't like speak up until like way later.
Yeah.
So yeah, good memories. Haiyooo, did you have memories of that?
Oh, that one? I don't know. How many messages did I send you in trying to set that one up, Evalia?
Yes, because it was my first. I was nervous, and so I was messaging Haiyooo like, "Oh my God, what do I do? Where do I go? Do we have scouts? Wait, where are my scouts? What are they doing? What they're supposed? Is the enemy? What's like? There's so much to keep track of.
Yeah.
With those situations, and again, I feel a heavy responsibility to the pilots that if they're flying under me, I want them to get home safe. I want them to have a good time, and I want them to have their ship when we get back.
That's not really that important.
I know.
You can have a lot of fun and not come home with a ship.
Well,
right?
yes, obviously, because the last big op that I led, I got a nightmare blown up. So.
Oh.
Were you not there for that, Haiyooo?
Good for you.
I've been on my Empire sabbatical, remember?
Oh, that's right. No, it's we attempted an aggressive action against a station that was probably further away than we should have gone. Our intel was that it was not likely to be heavily defended, so as long as we came with substantial force, it would probably be okay. But after waiting and trying to rally people, we flew out with less than 30 pilots. And by the time we were in the heat of the battle, there were 120 ships on grid.
Okay.
We were outnumbered literally 3-1.
Yeah.
And our only big loss was the nightmare. Almost everybody else got home.
to be fair, the Nightmare was our advanced scout, and he tackled a Macarial on the way, and we blew up a Macarial on the way. So I think we still ended up ISK positive.
We won this. We won. we were like 2 billion ISK positive by the end of it. Because
the Macarial sees the Nightmare and it engages and is like, "Come on, guys!" and starts calling his friends. And then a 30-man fleet lands on top. He's just like, "Oh, bad decisions, bad decisions."
I don't know about the ISK war now, because have you seen those prices for Nightmares? Holy crap!
Oh yeah.
That's true. This was several weeks ago.
Let's not even talk about debris prices and Nightmare. And listen, I had been hoarding my angel debris, right? And I am 555 angel invention. So the day the patch dropped for T8, I got it. Boom. I not as the patch drop. Excuse me. As soon as I hit T8, I put those babies in the oven. I got 2 of 4 successful completions on Macarial. And I sold them for 400 mil because that was the going rate at that price. At that time, they were going for about 400 mil. Yeah, they're over like 2.8 billion right now. And I'm a sad panda. Sorry.
Yeah, I sold all my angel debris when they were like 35 mil each because I'm like, oh, that's triple what they were. That should be where it caps out.
The market
no.
That's like I sold all of my Plex. It went up and it had gone up a couple 100,000 over where I had bought it, and I was afraid that it was going to dip again, and so I went ahead and sold, and now it's like almost doubled in price again, and I'm like,
yeah, I remember post the big first patch. Everybody's like, oh, it's over 300,000. Sell. And I'm looking at them like, wait a minute, respec is about to drop, and you think it's got no. As people tier up and they keep respecking, like, oh no, I don't like this ship. Let me try something else, and they're burning through that Plex. Buddy.
Yeah.
It is it's what, 980 right now, I think?
Yeah.
How much is
crazy.
How much is the Nightmare worth now?
When we calculated it, it was like 7 or 8 billion. When I calculated that day, I ran the numbers on the ships that had been destroyed, and it was like 6 or 7 billion.
Wow.
But it's
Nightmares and rattlesnakes are just stupid right now with the debris prices.
Back in EO, this is a good transition into our next subject. To talk about EO, my favorite ship was the Vindicator, but that's not good in Echoes right now, or what's going on?
It is good. It's just because the Nightmare is. You can put more EHP on a Nightmare. It is the most heavily tankiest ship in the game, right? It has more effective HP than any other ship. And that right now, because the meta is built around having a tank.
Yeah.
And then the shield, and then you keep your fleet in the bubble, and that's just how the meta's been working. It's the easiest kind of fleet to run and organize, and so that's why the Nightmare is critical to that. So you want your Nightmare, then if you can add a Vindicator with it or a Balgorn with it, then your fleet becomes now twice as effective.
Yeah.
That in that fleet battle where our Nightmare got killed, the reason it died is because the enemy fleet brought in their own Nightmare and a Vindicator. Had it not been for their Vindicator, we probably could have gotten the Nightmare out. I'm not going to say we would have won the fight because no, but we probably could have all gone out. The reason we couldn't is because they did bring in the Vindicator. So it's like, it gives you the advantage, but if you don't start with the Nightmare first, then having the other nice ships, while great, it's not quite as secure. And you don't want to risk those ships. Exactly. Because we'll just blow them up.
So
without the Nightmare...
Yeah. Is it the tankiest ship right now?
In the game, it has the most effective HP of any ship in the game.
Okay.
So you can't get much more tanky than that. And it's fit for shield field modules. So slap a couple of those on there, get your fittings right. It's pretty insane. It took them, so the rest of the fleet left. The reason our Nightmare didn't escape is because they had points on him. So he was pinned.
Yeah.
And it still took them like 10 minutes to kill the ship, and he took out like 10 more ships by himself as they were trying to blow him up. So those numbers are probably exaggerated. When Raw watches this, he's going to be like, it was 5 minutes and I killed 5 ships or so. I don't remember. But it took him forever. And yes, my fault. I got Raw's nightmare blown up. I'm sorry, Raw. I'm sorry. But it was a good fight. I mean, we had a good time.
And again, it doesn't matter if you come back with your ship. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's what he said. Is that it was
about content
it was fun.
and having fun. There's no reason to have the ships if you're not going to use them to have fun.
Yeah. If you watched our latest video by Zell, he made a promotional video, and one of the scene was Raw flying the Nightmare and having you, and I remember hearing your voice over Evalia.
Yeah,
you were saying what or something like that. I think hopefully it was shooting at him.
That was the first time that Raw had flown out his Nightmare. So we had done an op. I don't even remember what the op was, but we had like 30 mortar ships on grid. We had like 30 stabbers, right, fit to blow stuff up. And after the successful op, Raw wanted to test.
That was the OLY defense. We had 160 stabbers on grid.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Okay, so yeah, so we had an entire. Okay, so 160 ships on grid, and Raw's like, I want to test the tank on my Nightmare. So he had the entire fleet target him to shoot him, and literally they did 0 damage. That's what I was saying. What you hear when I'm saying is, are they shooting him? Did they actually do anything? Because I'm watching his HP, and it's like it's not changing.
Moving. Uh-huh.
The entire fleet of 160 ships is shooting at him and nothing's happening. So I was trying to figure out I was like, what's going on?
It was insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, if you haven't watched it, go back to our YouTube channel and watch the video. It's by Zell. Good job on the video. Okay.
So it was Evalia there, and it was me when we were blowing up that demo station. I believe were the 2 FCs featured in that.
Mm-hmm.
Baby girl screaming. Okay.
That whole earlier conversation about trying to go to bed and not staying up all night is, oh my gosh, kids are hard. Kids are hard.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they just whatever you gotta do, just leave and we'll just come back when you're ready to talk. Let's move on to. Do you have to do it now, or do you have to?
Yeah, give me just a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, Evalia and Ran, we can talk about your history.
We're all having issues right now. I have one real quick thing that I just need to.
That's okay. So Ren, that's fine.
I'm here 100% with you. I'm all here for you, baby.
Ren, let's talk about non-military stuff. Like, how did you get started with GHA? You kind of talk about so you were in other games before, and how did you find Golden Horde Alliance with LGC?
You know what? I honestly don't know. I just really kind of started playing. Like to kind of just show like how far behind a lot of people. I mean, I'm still not Tech 8, right? Like I started playing much later than a lot of others. So what I could talk about is my experiences of joining Golden Horde is right as I had started playing was when the whole alliance, the whole corporation, and actually the whole alliance, the Northstar Federation, which joined GHA as an alliance, was leaving, I don't even know, I think Branch. And had moved to HiSec, and we were doing a lot of HiSec stuff while they were looking for a new home. And so they're like, all right, guys, we're joining the Golden Horde. It's this massive group. We're going to join this like super mega alliance coalition. It's awesome. So like, cool. And they're like, and we're taking over Geminate. So like, we're moving to FDZ. And we're like, cool, we're going to be here, and there's going to be all of these people. And we get out there, and it's NSF and a bunch of grays and reds.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, well, where's the rest of the alliance? Like, well, what's happening here? Because we were the first group deployed to Geminate, to start securing Geminate. And it was just the wild, wild west. It was, there was not, Like you could kind of do anything, and there was just a lot of stuff to blow up, and there were neutrals in and out all day, and Roa was just a battlefield. But yeah, that's so I don't even really know how Black Dogs and Raptor and Risky and the leadership team at the time, got plugged in and chose why they chose Golden Horde. I wasn't really involved at that time, but I do remember that, like, where's the Mega Alliance? And we're in FTZ just kind of doing our thing. And if we want to be safe, we just go out to high sec and farm, because Geminate was not safe at all.
No, that was what you don't realize is you were hired to make it safe. There was just no payment.
Yeah. Define hire. I don't think we got them to do a W-9 or anything.
No. So yeah, and I never really got the size of Golden Horde until the battle to defend the anchor of 8-spin, and we were actually out in high sec doing story missions as a group, just making some ISK, and the Cult Arms got put out, and we all had to like burn back to like Jeter FTZ or wherever we had anything resembling a doctrine ship, and slap it together, and it just all burned out to 8-spin, and we're like, we don't even cache. Where's cache? We don't even know where cache is. Where is this place? Like, we've never been to cache, right? We were never part in. We never lived in cache.
Yeah.
So we're like getting out. We're like, what the fuck's 8-spin? So that's kind of the early days. It's like, and then we get there, and now here there's hundreds of pilots on the grid.
Yeah.
And
you do have friends.
Yeah.
It is more than just us in Golden Horde. It wasn't just a lot of people in a Discord. They do actually have ships.
At the beginning of the military, I said that I'm like, there's nothing, and there's no kind of formal presence in Geminate, and then Vale was the literal Wild West. It was random groups, mismatched. Nobody. I thought they were all blue each other. Turns out they were shooting each other. I mean, it was hilarious. So I go up there and I'm like, I'm the king of the North. Everybody, let's mount up and kill things. And I get like 4 people in FDZ, and I'm like, looking around. Okay, two-man bomber roam. Let's go. And then, eventually I pulled Zan. Like every PvP pilot that wanted to go on a deployment, I pulled him up to FDZ, and I said, it's not hard to pick a station in Geminate. There's only one system with a station, so let's go. And so we got in there and we started doing roams out of FDZ, and that really gave a lot of people in my corp some of their first Echoes PvP. And then all of a sudden it was 8-spin start happening, and stuff started kind of flaring up on the southern front. And it was like, we want you to come back down to cache and be one of the first admirals. And I'm like, but wait a minute, I'm having fun doing roams into the well, no. But yeah, I do remember like finding a Inquisitor or something, or Dead Space, and calling what's his name, Black Dogs, right? Black Dog. Yeah. I was like, hey man, I pinged him on Discord. It was the only LGC name I saw, and I'm like, hey, I got this thing. I'm in a bomber. I can't run it. Do you want to come up for? And so I came over and they ran the site together. So it was good. It was nice. That's how I met LGC. Was like, hey, I have a site. Do you want it? And you usually become friends when you do that to people, right?
Yeah.
In the early days of Geminate, I mean, many of us became friends, because it was before we had, a lot of rules around anomalies and claiming and all that. And you would just kind of fly around and look for stuff and pick a system and start farming it. And you'd be there with maybe 2 or 3 people, and it was going a little slow, and somebody else would come in with 1 or 2 people, and you'd be like, hey, you want to join us? And, I ended up flying with just about every corp station in Geminate at that point, because, with pilots from everybody, because you just form these pickup groups as you moved around. And Geminate's big. Geminate's really big. But yeah, it was a lot of fun back then. It was like, and you never knew when a grade would come. I mean, we would catch, I remember one day we were flying with Funk Doctor, who's now in uni, after SPCF merged into uni, and he had his alt, with an Imicus that he'd brought to pick up all of the trash loot from everything we were killing, and he forgot about it, and it was sitting on a gate. And this Gila was it a Gila or was it an Ashamu? As an Ashamu saw it sitting on the gate and was like, well, that's a good idea. That's a good thing. I'm going to pop this Imicus that was now empty. It was just on its way out there. Well, what he didn't realize is that, at Geminate at that point, you did not leave home without PvP fits. Like, there was no such thing as a PvE fit. It does not matter if you're ratting, you were PvP fit. You have points, webs, everything. And within, he's like, guys, Baby Jew's getting engaged. Baby Jew's getting engaged. We're like, which gate? And we just fleet warp. And all of a sudden, it's 5 of us, and it was like, our tank was a Blackbird covert ops, with like a couple of other CNIs and stuff. But we just hit him, and we just swarmed him, and he decided to, try to alpha the Blackbird with the large shield extender equipped, which wasn't his best choice. But, that was my first faction cruiser kill was, just in those days, like, you could get faction cruiser kills just while ratting, because we'd sit in an Inquisitor after we were done clearing it. We'd just sit at the bottom for a little while, wait to see what came in, and we'd blap it. It was fun.
That's fun. Fishing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's Evalia, you're back.
Yes.
How about we never really got to talk about you and Uni and how you guys got involved with the Golden Horde.
That's an interesting story.
Yes.
So Uni started as a HiSec corp, much like Eve University, which was more geared toward helping new players to the game, and new players typically stay in HiSec. And so that's what, we were just building ourselves as this little corp out in HiSec, and we would, chew rocks and run story missions and encounters and that kind of stuff, just really chill. But a lot of our original leadership was associated with Eve University and Eve Online. So we are not representative of Eve University from Eve Online, but we did have people who had been a part of that who came over and said, we want to do something similar. So kind of a similar history, but not necessarily affiliated. And what happened was we had a guy, DK Maniac, who now I think is in Ori, he's part of Orc. And he would go mine with he had 9 accounts. And so he would fly out his 9 little ships to mine in low-sec systems. And he would get attacked. And so he had asked the corp if some of us could go out and provide protection for him. So we had done that. And as we were out there, there were some other people mining. And so we had been kind of hunting. So we would protect him, and then we would hunt other miners. And one of the guys had kind of struck a deal with these guys from SPL, Solar Planet Light, which was another corp in the same area. So we would see each other in passing. And so what he said is, we're here to provide protection for our guy, but as long as y'all don't attack us, then we won't attack you. And we'll provide protection for your miners tonight while we're here. So when we had the changing of the guard, that original person left, and then I came in as the next round of protection for our miners. And he said, this is the agreement that we had, but it's up to you whether or not you want to go blow them up now, because you're not me and I was the one who made the deal. And so I said, you know what, if right now they're under the impression that we're going to be nice to them, I'll just keep that up. And they said, would it be possible for us to have some kind of permanent friendly status? And so we got our leadership in touch with their leadership, and we were talking about forming an alliance, because that's, the nature of these things in Eve Echoes is you find people who are friendly and like-minded, and you have similar goals, and then you form an alliance. And so that's where we were. At the same time, they were working on forming an alliance with Blackwater. And I think maybe another corp or two, and I don't remember everyone who was involved, because at the time I was just an FC, so I wasn't particularly concerned with leadership stuff. I was just taking pilots out, flying around. And the leader, the CEO of Blackwater iTunes, had heard about the Golden Horde through Benzie, and was determined to become a part of the Horde, because they saw this as a way to get established in Nullsec, which is where, let's be honest, the resources of New Eden are in Nullsec. And he wanted his corp to be able to mine in the best regions and have access to dead spaces and all of the goodies that come with nullsec. And because they already controlled all of cache, the idea was, well, if we get out there with them, then we're already in relatively safe space because we're new players to the game and we are terrified of nullsec. Great, that's where you die. And Eve University had been looking at establishing a foothold somewhere in nullsec. So we had been looking for systems, and what we had found is that most of them, there would already be somebody there. And so it's, who do we trust to try to ally with in nullsec? And what iTunes did was get us a conversation going with Bo. So the way he told the story was he came out and flew around cache in a pod and said, I want to be part of this. I want to talk to somebody, and just did that until finally he got to talk to somebody in diplomacy. So then the talks happened where we kind of got all of our corps, those of us who were wanting to form an alliance together, all got in the room with Bo and said, we were wanting to form an alliance, but we would like to come be part of what you're doing. And what he told us is that if we wanted to join the Golden Horde, then you can't form your own alliance right now because our policy is that corps come in as corps. They join one of our existing alliances. And then once you've been here for a while and there's a level of trust and you're established and you're integrated, then if you want to form your own alliance, you can do that. And what we were sold was the democracy of the Golden Horde and the players first idea of Golden Horde and this. What Bo emphasized over and over and over again is that as long as you contribute and integrate, then you get a seat at the table, right? You get a vote. You get to contribute to the direction of the Horde. And so I remember sitting down with our leadership and a couple of them saying, we want to make sure that we're able to steer the direction that our corp goes because we had a vision for our corp as far as the kind of corp that we wanted to be. And there was a lot of concern about whether or not Golden Horde would live up to those promises, whether or not we would actually be granted an equal voice once we had been around for a while. And the assurance that we were given is that would take no more than maybe a few weeks. And as long as we showed up for call to arms and as long as we participated, that we would be granted that. And so under that thought process, we said, well, then let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and move out here. And we all moved out together, all of those corps. And we are in the same alliance. We're all in Gold 3. And so that's how we got here. And then when we got here, that was our priority was let's integrate. Let's make sure that we are using the Discord, that we're participating in the call to arms. I very quickly became an alliance fleet commander because that's what I do. We had struggled with leadership because our first two CEOs had real life crises that took them out of the game. So for a while, the understanding was that we weren't being given what was called a seat at the table because our CEOs were having problems. So what we did was we found another corp that was like-minded with pilots that we enjoyed flying with good, strong, stable leadership. And then we brought them into Uni, but we made them the leadership. So we kept the Uni name because we wanted to be Eve University. And that's, part of what Eve University is we do offer a lot of classes. I teach classes almost every week. I teach a class for the Horde. Yes. Whether it's an intro to Eve class about navigating the menus and little tips and tricks and working the overview. I regularly teach intro to PvP classes where we talk about just how to be a pilot in fleet PvP, and I teach the fleet commander trainings, the team leader trainings, which is how to take care of your fleet, how to be in charge of a fleet. And we have those regularly, and then there's other classes too. So we're involved in that aspect.
Logi trainings.
And yes, we do Logi trainings, which I need to schedule another one of those. Thank you for reminding me.
Logi training every day. Logi training every day. More Logi, please.
You talked about that, but it's so funny because one of my first YouTube videos was how to anchor on your MOA Guardian, right? Like
Anchoring!
It was holy Moses when we did that first station assault. Was Cuddle Castle the first one we did? That was in Vale of the Sun. I think so.
That was my intro to being whatever I was at the time.
Right. I know it was mostly
Fleet boss. Yeah, that's what I was. I was fleet boss.
I just remember like trying to message people, and this game is so awful for trying to pick someone and chat to them. You're like scrolling through the endless local when you have 300 people. But yeah, so I just said, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to try and start a conversation with each person. Just start a YouTube video and then link it in our Discord. Hey guys, please come check out this video so you know how to anchor, how to find the person. And then like 2 weeks later, Nettie's changed the order, and I'm like, well, there goes that. So it's a little different.
But with the training and what we've been doing and running the fleets like we have, anchoring now is very rarely a problem. Right. You might get one person who like walks away to let their dog out, and so they'll be drifting, and it's like, and they're gonna get blapped. I mean, if you drift out of the bubble, you're gonna get blapped, and that's on you. But by and large, like today, we had the little bitty defensive operation, and I set us on a slow orbit around the gate, and everybody just in this nice little tight, beautiful. It was just beautiful. They've got the anchoring, and I'm so proud of our pilots because they've gotten really good at that. So
I think you're being very moderate. Sorry, let me just speak for the university. I mean, Evalia's been, like I said before, she's the star instructor, or one of the most active instructors we have. Since the beginning, right? She has all these classes offering. So basically what you do is you go to Discord, you find the list of classes, you make a request, and she will personally attend to you. Like she will arrange a class based on your availability, and then more people can sign up. So it's a great, one of the major changes we've done to the university. So please check it out. It's a university chat channel in the pinned messages. Yeah, sorry, how you were saying something.
I mean, it's pilot priority. I want the pilots to have a good time, and if you feel like you don't know what's going on, or you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, or you don't know what to expect, it's hard to have a good time. Big fleet battles are scary if you've never done it before. They're scary if you have done it before. So
when you're in the FC, I promise you have no idea what to expect or what's going on.
Well, that's true.
That's a different.
Yeah, one of the things I was like keen on, because I'm realizing this is a brand new game. There is no generational wealth is the term that's often used in economics, right? Everybody's starting at zero because it's just been released. Mm-hmm. So my whole goal and teaching combat was like, listen, every setup I'm trying to teach you, you can do in a dead space. And that just blows people's minds. Like I can't tell you, I've said it like multiple times on comms and in Discord. And then till I had 5 of my own accounts and people watched me solo T8 Dead Spaces, and they're like, wait a minute, what? And I'm like, the bubble is life. Stay in the bubble. And then they're like,
yes.
What? So now I know like everybody in the corp that is ratting heavy, almost all of them have like a succubus alt or something bobbing around with a little bubble. And I'm just like, listen, this fleet concept and this game, this is a little different than EVE Online in the sense that the PvE and PvP are very, very similar tactics right now. Mm-hmm. If you look at like the Naga being like the premier long-range ship right now in PvP,
yeah,
same thing in T10 storyline missions.
I have a funny Naga story.
Uh-oh.
I had flown a pod up today. Well, I had flown a ship up, and then I needed to get potted back. and so I'm sitting at a station in my little pod, and there's a Naga sitting next to the station, and I was like, this is perfect. So I go to local, and I was like, hey, can you pod me? And the Naga goes, oh yeah. And so I sit there, and it's like they start to lock me. And like 2 minutes later, the box turns red. Okay, so thing number 1, the amount of time it takes for this Naga to lock me, I was like, come on, dude. I could have flown back by now. And then he starts shooting at me, and because I'm in this little bitty pod, and he's in this giant Naga like 20 kilometers away, he can't hit me. he has to like fly off, and I have to like make sure that I'm stopped. It took us like 5 minutes to get this Naga to kill my pod, so I can go back home.
2 minutes to lock you.
I have to be the guy who asks, what about self-destruct, question mark?
Is that an option
I did
now?
that earlier today.
Yes, that's the thing.
They put it in the game. It takes 2 minutes, and in my head, it was going to be faster for the Naga to kill me than for me to self-destruct. Obviously, this was wrong.
Oh, it does. Well, that's terrible. It should be a minute.
Yeah.
I blame Eddie.
No, it takes 2 full minutes to self-destruct.
You're right. I just tried it.
And so I was like, I don't know, for the 2 minutes, it just seemed in my head that it would be faster. Because I was like, it's a Naga. It's got lots of DPS. So it should be able to just alpha me off the field.
Well, you remember in school when they talked about this trigonometry is so important that you need to...
Yeah. I wasn't thinking, y'all. My brain's been mush for 2 days, so.
Miss Katina, 8th grade.
And I'm a math tutor, so.
Oops.
Sad day. Anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted just because I thought it was a funny story.
Oh, it's not an interruption. I don't know. It's not. We need a better name than YouTube View and Chill, but it's kind of what we are.
Yeah. But as much as we like this, just chatting, we have to talk about more serious,
serious
things. Let's start with you, Haiyooo.
Right.
GHM, Golden Horde Military. You were one of the first admirals, and
So
what happened?
The first
I have to get
weeks.
my laptop charger, so I'm gonna be listening, but I'm gonna turn my camera off for a second.
Okay.
Fair enough. So in the first 2 weeks of being out in cash, we were getting raided. I guess the first couple of weeks. You remember the Polish group?
Yeah.
Corp.
The Spoon? It's Corp. You're right. Corp.
Yeah.
So it was Corp at the and so they kept raiding us, and we of course would be like the original kitchen sink fleets, right? Everybody's like undocking in a Caracal and Condor 2s. And originally the Alliance was like, no, don't feed them kills, just. And at one point, somebody had assembled a 30-man fleet, and I'm in the fleet. I think I was in one of the freebie ships, the Zhongjin, whatever you call it, prototype ship.
Zhongyu and the Canyon.
Yeah, the frigate one. I was in that at the time because none of us had got to 30 days yet. So, and I'm just listening to this guy trying to organize the fleet, and like he's getting people invited into fleets, and I'm listening, and they're walking around killing guys, and I'm just like, well, I'm new here. I don't want to be bossy and take over this dude's fleet. All right, everybody just line to the FGC gate or whatever, and I just snapped right into mode and took over. And everybody got really quiet and did what they were told. We got a few kills and chased them off at the end of the day. And obviously losing Condor 2s, I don't think anybody cried on their way home. But I got so many messages in that first couple of hours of like, oh, there's somebody that you have a commanding presence, and I'm like, okay, sure. Versus running around as a headless chicken versus what I said, I guess you could consider that.
That's what's fun. Can I just say the feedback that you get as an FC is one of my favorite things ever.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Well, and that is going to be a highlight of mine because Rand, as I go through what happened and what's new with being one of the first 3 admirals, Rand has a very important part of why I stuck around. So basically, at the time they were like, "Hey, we really need some military leadership, and would you like to be involved with that?" And I was like, I'm kind of old now. I don't know that I want to dedicate. So, like I said, I'm from EVE Online. I was in NCDot. I did plenty of fleet commanding with Macabre Votum was my corporation. Big shout out to Alki and Sovereign. Love you guys forever. And I was like, we had friends in that corp where when I had my first child, one of the guys sent me a onesie, right, with the logo from our corporation. No, I still got it. Like, it's so cool. That's player centric, right? That's the family oriented type. When you spend 10 years in a game with someone, by God, the least you can do is buy them a onesie when they're losing 11 months of sleep. But no. So I kind of was hesitant about it because I was like, I really don't, kind of like Evalia talking about Star Wars, and then getting into this. I didn't want that. I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want my significant other to kick me out as I get a glance as she puts down her phone.
Yeah.
More an eye roll than anything. So I really was hesitant. I told Bo and Graham, my CEO, I was like, nah, man, I don't want to be in charge. I don't want to be responsible for all that. I don't mind helping and tutoring and bringing people up to speed.
Yeah.
Which really turned out to be bringing people up to speed who have never played Eve before online, and then coming into Echoes, and that turned to be a challenge. That's not something you can do in like a week. That's not something you can say, oh, let's have a fleet training, and all of a sudden now you can take out fleets. There's so much more that goes into it. You can't just drink from the fire hose and get it all in one go. So they somehow, and I don't know the full story, but essentially USSF, right, got in with Raw and into the Alliance. And Raw had a pretty stout resume. Bo sent it to me for review and was like, hey, what do you think about this guy? We're trying to bring him in. And I'm like, and no offense, Blue.
It's okay.
I said he's an effing goon. This probably isn't going to work out. Something along those lines. But hopefully he can command a fleet. Because, like I said, I'm NCDot. I've never been in a goon corps. I've killed goons my entire Eve career. I don't know what else to say to you guys.
We're still fighting, but.
Right, exactly. I got messages. They tried to get me back in the game, and then one of the guys, I said, no, I'm not coming. Like, can I have one of your Titans? And I'm like, really? No, you can't have my Titan. Get out of here. So Raw took over. He did a really good job with 8-Spin. And we kind of built a relationship. They said we want to build a department, not just one person. And so Bo got me involved in Storm Strife as well to be more of a conjunction with Raw.
Sure.
And that was going pretty good. Storm Strife doesn't have as much in-game time as Raw and I did at the time. So we kind of all hit on it was a time thing. A lot of us couldn't commit the time. We were trying to pick up where each other left off. And essentially that grew to one day they're like, listen, we're not going to have Raw as a head admiral. All three of you are going to be equal. And I'm like, all right.
Not what I signed up for.
Well, I mean, they asked me, right, do you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm sitting here thinking, because again, we all know I'm military minded. And I look from the top down. You don't put three generals in a room and say, hey, you guys work together and figure this out. Because one of them's going to have a plan and they're going to think their plan is the best thing. And it's really hard with that A-type personality to really join, right? It's one of probably the most challenging things to do. And that's why there's always a commander, right? Yeah. The highest ranking person for that op is the commander. So right off the bat, I kind of sat back and listened to their whole idea about this. I'm like, oh, man, sure, whatever. Because like I said, I can't commit full time to run this gig, and I'm here to help as best I can. And again turned into 12, 13, whatever Discords it popped up to be. And I'm just like trying to start a team speak for the coalition with the Silent Alliance and Gen Fed, so we're all on the same comms, and just getting really involved in coordinating timers across New Eden. And in Eve Echoes, that's a big deal because you're talking 70, 80 jumps. That's a lot. That's a long time for people. At least you can AFK this.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for a mobile game, it's not like...
Yeah, it's not like, listen, my phone battery's going to die before I get there.
No, wait, hang on. You cannot play this game without your phone being plugged in. Like, I literally do not open Eve Echoes on my phone unless it's plugged in. Because
get a better phone. Come on, man.
I need a new phone too. But let's go back to, again.
No, it just sucks all the battery, and I get started and then I forget, and then it's like I open up the game 5 hours later. I'm like, my phone. Anyway.
So Evalia, I remember we were here before they had. Again, Raw was the head, like the marshal, Sky Marshal, recording crews, the top military. And then they split into three. And then I remember we talked about it in that episode. We talked about this new shift in command structure, and we were like, okay, they wanted to do I think we talked to Raw, right? Yeah, Raw talked to us. It was more.
We talked to Raw and Storm.
And Storm, yeah. So they were both like, okay, so they're doing it more like a committee style, more to cover more time zones and to be more democratic. So it sounded a little bit. I think some
of it was the different responsibilities. So the idea, I think, was that Haiyooo, you would know better than I would. This was just my understanding as a pilot under y'all. But it seemed that Haiyooo was doing much more of the fleet stuff, that he was present in most of the fleets. He was actively helping coordinate fleet things, whereas Raw at the time was more focused on doctrine. So figuring out how best to fit the ships and testing. And that Storm was more focused on the organizational structure of how can we bring up new pilots and make sure that they're trained and make sure that they're able to move up and that there's a mechanism for them to do so when they're ready. That was my impression, is that it would be kind of divided that way. I don't know if it was intended to work that way or if that's just kind of how it seemed on the outside. Haiyooo, you could probably
so it's actually I left a part out, and I'm glad you slowed me down there. Originally Storm, like you said, was supposed to be the gateway to bringing new people up, right? And Raw was supposed to be kind of the overseer, and then I was supposed to be doing YouTube training videos on training stuff. That's Bo. Really? Bo sat me down. Yeah, when he brought me in, I'm busting his balls on this one, but Bo was like, "Yeah, I need you to make training videos on."
Well, let me just say, if I had a nickel for everything Bo said, that did not happen.
Right.
I would be able to own all of Wheaton.
Well, it goes worse because he basically called me out one day because I was talking about some issues I was having, and he's like, "Well, where's all the training videos you were supposed to be doing?" And I'm like, "Really? That's where you want to go with this, Karen? Stop it." So, no, I have to bust him out on that one. I'm like, because all of the people, Rand, you never played EVE Online. So, back me up or not, honestly. Can you watch a YouTube video and then be a great fleet player? Like,
I wouldn't even, okay, so I'm sorry, Rand. I'm answering for you. Go ahead.
No.
No. and me and Evalia were talking earlier. Hey, look, there's a forehead shot. No, we were talking earlier about people making rules or being involved in, but not being involved in decision-making processes and then not actually playing that part of the game. And I busted out Bo again. I'm like, do you remember that first station op where you got your wing commander wings, so to speak?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, do you remember what Bo came in? And she was like, no, did he come? And I'm like, yeah, in a Condor 2. And I busted him out. I'm like, he's like, I'm Bo Jingles, everybody. And I'm like, you're in a Condor 2, dude. Shut up and get in the stabber, Get in line or...
You're in a Condor 2. You are disposable tackle. I don't care what your name is.
Exactly.
Go grab the warp point, and when you die, we'll fly to your wreck.
That was my first, because again, I'm EVE Online. Some of that is going to be hardcore, just never going to leave my bones, right? And I just have to accept the fact that the people running this more casual game.
We lost your video.
Yeah, it should be coming back up. Okay. I didn't force that down anybody's throat. I wanted them to accept it more naturally, right? I didn't want to say, no, this is the way, get on board or you're doing it wrong. In the back of your mind, you're like, oh shit, okay, I just got a fleet of 10 Condors, 13 Caracals, and I called for a stabber fleet. And you can't see me rubbing my scowl off my face.
To be fair, at that time, the doctrine allowed for a stabber or any ship that fit in that same ship slot on the ship tree.
That's
So
true.
caracoles were doctrine at that time.
Which was a step up from kitchen fleet, which the
Yes.
first few fleets, kitchen sink. The first few fleets I was in were kitchen sink, and it was fly whatever you can afford to get blown up.
Yeah.
And I was like,
No.
okay.
Listen, I agree, but when you have a premise and you call for something and you're designing your set for that, and you can't get that actual doctrine ship to apply that damage, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But it worked out because it kind of opened my eyes. We did a mortar fleet as a response fleet. We had a Chinese group that was bringing 10 V&Is into P7, and they were just docked up the station, and they'd log on for instant content. And we're like, okay, cool. And they were awesome because they stuck around and they wanted to fight. So they pulled range on us on the gate, 60 or so km, and they sent their drones into us. We only had about 13, 14 stabbers, but we had 4, 5, 6 caracals, and those caracals could nuke the drones as we were alphaing down vexers. So V&Is even, and I was like, you know what? This just opened my eyes. They're like our flak fire for drones, and it works great. And later on in the doctrine, I made it a point to say, if you are a missile guy, I want ranged missiles so you can shoot down drones incoming, or rapid lights if they get in our shield.
I still call for them. If I'm headed into battle and I expect there to be drones, that's what I ask for.
If they're torpedo fit, I'm pissed because that's pointless at this point.
But a well skilled missile pilot in a CNI can still hit out to 80 km 66% of the time.
Now,
while they're hot, they can still hit 80 km, and at 80 km, they're applying a lot more damage than a stabber is.
The only difference
they're
between
hitting
that
it
is
full
alpha,
damage.
Right. And you're talking about alpha. Can I apply it instantly when I want to switch a target? And that's something that doesn't happen as much because of the problems with calling targets with a 10-man fleet when you have 300 people. But when I call a target, and if for some reason they get Logi reps and I want to switch that target, well, your missiles are still flying for 6, 7, 8 seconds before that damage ever lands. And if you switch target, now we have even longer time.
Correct.
So that was the point of always going for the alpha mortar doctrine, is so that I can say, nope, switch to this guy, slam, there's the damage, and they're nuked before they can get reps. Yep. So derailed to that, but absolutely was borderline frustrating originally. Like, where are your videos, Haiyooo? And I'm like, is that really what's important for the betterment of the Horde right now? But sure, okay. So I'll call it out, Bo, on that. But yeah, it's all good. I mean, he wanted to see us work together, and that's hard. Again, 3 A-type personalities in a room.
Yeah,
I don't care who you are, what you are. That is a challenge.
Do you want to talk more about how that turned out?
Yeah. So essentially, like Evalia said, I was the one doing the fleet stuff in game, right? And not to mention the Discord warrior. That's hard to say. Art. But it became a workload, and that my phone is blowing up when I'm at work, and I'm like, stop it. One of those things that you're just like, I can't do this alone. So what I wasn't trying to down on anybody, because there's 2 things I look at when I look at a person. I judge a person in a game like this. Like, you have merit based, like your skills and what you can do, and then your involvement. How much are you doing? Because you have to factor those both in when considering, I don't want to say the worth of somebody, but what you're getting out of them. Right. Evalia, when she first started, had an amazing amount of involvement, but she hadn't got a merit up because she was brand new, and you can't blame her. That's not a down on her. We had to train her. We had to let her get experience and that was the other thing about getting experience. You can't do that. You don't get adrenaline go up from a YouTube video. I mean, maybe when you watched my Corp video, you got some adrenaline, but that's like, No, but that adrenaline that makes you afraid to lose your ship in EVE Online, that's what makes EVE and EVE Echoes, right? That's what you have to be trained to perform under. Yeah. And no video will ever do that. So anyways, my frustration built with the workload, and it was almost a perceived workload, because however much content I wanted to create, I had to do it on my own, I felt like. and I wanted everybody to have content, or we were never going to get any better. And as an alliance, to work together and be prepared for things like sovereignty, which is apparently just capture the flag in this beta test of sovereignty, but whatever. But to be prepared for true sovereignty, I was like, we need to be on the ball with these fleets, and we need to go help GenFed just so we can gain the experience.
Yeah.
And so I said, what I want is a seat, not a seat. I wanted to bring my ideas to the players at ball and the decision makers. And for the Golden Horde was the Senior Partner Council. So I came on the Senior Partner Council and I laid it all out. I mean, and it was a heartfelt page of, this is what I'd love to see us do. This is the vision I have for the Alliance building up into a coalition with the Silent Alliance and GenFed, and letting this blossom more so than just destroying bots, but long-term power players in New Eden. And I said, I need Zell. Zell was a regional commander at the time. And I said, I need him as an admiral because his ability is there as an admiral, no doubt. He's a fellow NCDot player and an amazing fleet commander. And he had the time and organizational skills, because there's not just in fleet, but go back to Discord. And he had that down packed. He was organizing fleets. He was calling actions. He was doing, and I said, I need him as an admiral. I need his quote unquote vote on and his level of participation there when we're trying to get things like new setups out, new staging, outpost dropped, whatever it might be. And I said, to that, I want to blossom this coalition, and I want to drop some outposts for military content. And I don't want to have to come ask for approval from the SBC to do it every time if we want to do a defensive or offensive outpost. And they're like, wow, this is amazing. This is great. Thank you for bringing your passion here. We appreciate that. And then Raw had a disagreement with that course. You know, he kind of looked at it as, well, we need to save money because we don't know how much sovereignty is going to cost us, and we shouldn't be just dropping SFIs and Stabber Fleet issues all over New Eden for alliances that don't gain us anything, or for battles that don't gain us anything. And we shouldn't just be dropping outposts, because that capital should be saved for sovereignty outposts. While it's definitely a train of thought and a conservative process, my train of thought was, we're not going to be able to defend those outposts in the current state of the military, that we need to develop our pilots better, not just sit back and hoard money for outposts, because that creates a alliance where you can drop outposts because fiscally you've been conservative, but you haven't been out there and put your pilots and put them to the metal, right? And so that was an opposing point of view, and it essentially said, and I was like, you know what, I got this. I haven't really got, you know, he had kind of been upset with some of the botting in the game, and it kind of been inactive, and I was like, listen, I can't. I was getting the messages from Discord as I was trying to read a book to my daughter one evening on the couch, just trying to read her a couple of books. And I'm like, you know what? Reading my daughter a couple of books is more important than fussing with Discord. And so I was like, I'm going to bow out a little bit here. I said, you know, this isn't. I don't want to say worth that fight, because I do think Eve and the Golden Horde is worth the effort. I'm at that time in my life, I had to choose that. I was getting too much involved. But ultimately, me leaving, I got everything I wanted. Zell became an admiral. They dropped the station in BWF. They dropped the station in NRail. And I just moonwalked to Empire like, well, I'm going to run T8s because that's the new meta, right? But no,
There's something to be said, though. And I think a lot of us are feeling that right now. A lot of us who have been essentially fighting the Discord battles, and it goes back to what you said earlier, fighting with people who are not involved enough in the game. They live for Discord, and that's fine. If what you enjoy doing is Discord, then you should be able to do Discord. But when your Discord politics and rule making affects the ability of my pilots to enjoy the game, because they're actually playing the game. They're not trying to play Discord. They're trying to play the game. And when your rules become a burden on my pilots, I have to fight that battle. I'm not going to ask my pilots to argue in Discord.
Yeah.
But those of us who are taking those fights and saying, this is unreasonable, this is unhealthy, this is not going to allow for the alliance to function the way that it needs to, for sovereignty to move forward, to grow, because the alliance has been growing. And the structure that they have in place is not going to allow it to continue to grow. And those of us who have been fighting this battle, we're coming to that decision where it's like, at what point does the amount of effort and frustration that bleeds into my everyday life, that bleeds into my relationships and affects my functioning as a human, and my health and my sleep and my,
Yeah.
or I don't have kids, but I do, have other responsibilities. At what point do we say, I can't invest what it's going to take to fight the battles in Discord? And can I continue to support my pilots without that? Or do I just let them get eaten alive by rules that don't make sense, that are made by people who obviously don't understand what they are facing as they play the game?
And it's not just,
that's where the
it's
alliance
not
is
even
right
just,
Mm.
not even just, a question of, do you play the game or not? But it's, what are your experiences in the game? What regions do you live in? What roles do you play? Industry pilots have very different experiences than military pilots, and cash pilots have very different experiences than Geminate pilots. And I think we are seeing kind of a turning point where we've got to find a way to be scalable so that the Golden Horde can continue to grow and embrace all of those different play styles, rather than have everybody kind of siloed into that same mold.
Right. Before we continue, I want to remind everyone that one of my favorite quotes from Bojangles is that he said that it doesn't matter how many times we fuck this up, as long as we're doing this for the players, we're okay. Again, it goes back to the players first mentality. This is, I believe, for all of you guys here, we've been working so hard just to build the alliance and the community for the same belief, right? We want to build this for the players. And I think for Raw, that's the same as well. Maybe he has a different approach to it. He thinks that we should, save money, whatever. He wants to save just a different approach to where we're going. But we have been going into a 5,000 players strong base, and with this many voices and, like you said, characters, especially in the top level, the A-type personalities, you'd be crazy to think that everyone's going to be happy buddies with each other and with everybody, right? So yeah, and so please, Evalia, what do you?
So just a couple of things there. I will say for Raw, who is not with us tonight, but I talk to him a lot, that he feels a lot of the same exhaustion that we do.
Yeah.
And the amount of Discord warrioring that we've been doing in the past month, he's been doing this for 3 or 4 months.
Long time, yeah.
So I'm starting to try to fight these battles now. My last week has been consumed by trying to keep the alliance from fracturing. And he's been dealing with the same frustrations for a lot longer time. So the fact that he now doesn't get involved as much, he reads everything, but the fact that he doesn't comment a lot, I think, is just a symptom of the larger issue, which is that we're frustrated with a system that is not going to scale as well as we grow and expand in the way that we are.
Mr. Rand, what do you think? To this again, I'm glad you brought up this alliance part. So it's not just military anymore, and we've been hearing a lot of drama taking place or starting to brew. Rand, what do you think? Where do you see us going, and what do you see the problems?
So I think that we're at a bit of a turning point. I think I'll try to channel my inner Bo here a little bit, and I think we're seeing a little bit of rubber banding as
yes, rubber band.
we've
Exactly.
grown. As we've grown, let me take a sip of my wine real quick. Actually, no, I'm drinking some beer. But as we've grown and experienced tremendous success, we're working with a government model that was based off of really one alliance that was starting to grow, and was controlling one region of space and had pilots who shared similar experiences, and it doesn't always account for the different experiences and the different regions and the different spaces.
Sure.
And the different play styles of all of our pilots. We look at Zan, who is a Haiyooo. I mean, the most fun I think I've ever had as a pilot was flying under Haiyooo. But like looking at Zan is a very heavy industrial corporation versus Legacy, which is a very military focused corporation, and we therefore have.
Can we go back to that other part for a minute?
Sure.
We love you, Haiyooo.
Yeah, come on, man. No. It's not seriously. As much as I'd love to hear about myself. No, you talk about fun underneath someone, but the fun's being the sole word, right? I mean, the key word, and your play styles and everything in a new game like this are going to evolve, and I think it's important that you hit the nail. Is who do you have fun with, and who do you have fun? What do you have fun doing?
Yeah.
And that's so important, Rand, that no matter where you are or what you're doing, as long as we can do it harmoniously and work together for a common good and greater good when we need to, we should be having fun. And I don't think anybody doing this Discord wars, if you will, and it's straight up Discord wars at times, let's be honest. But I don't think anybody's calling that fun, right? And so
no.
I had a long conversation with Evalia earlier. I don't want that for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in the shadows trying to coach FCs and help bring people into the military server, and I just have to step back and be like, okay, where did we go wrong?
And I think that the point that we're at is we have to determine as a group, how do we best empower our pilots and our leaders to have fun. Now, some of us do enjoy some of the Discord warrior, some of us enjoy some of the politics, but there's a difference between enjoying some of the politics and getting to a point where it's consuming.
Yeah.
And so it's, how do we, as an organization, create a culture of fun and create a system of governance that embraces diversity and allows every pilot to explore New Eden in the way that is the most fun to them, so long as they aren't harming others, and so long as when the rubber meets the road, we're all on the same team, we're fighting the same fights, and we're pulling together for the same goals. And I think that there are differing opinions on how to do that that are valid, but we've got to really buckle down and make sure that we're looking at the right priorities as we move forward. And at the end of the day, this is a game. Aside from some of our content creators, nobody's getting paid to play this game. We're doing it because it's fun. We look at Eve, which has had, Eve Echoes has had some player retention issues. Some of it's due, Bo touched on this some on the State of the Union yesterday, or the State of the Horde yesterday, with some of it's due to some content that's still missing. We don't really have sovereignty. We still don't know what that's going to mean, besides, as you pointed out, capture the flag. But the way you keep pilots and the way you keep your players engaged, and in a situation where winning and becoming the dominant force isn't necessarily about recruiting the most. At this point, it's about keeping the pilots that you have.
Yeah.
You keep the pilots that you have by ensuring that they have a gameplay experience that's fun for them. Even if it's not fun for you, that's okay. I hate mining. I have very few industry skills. I went 4-2 and I have a retriever, so when we do mining ops, I can go do my part. That is not fun for me. But I recognize that that is fun for some people. So for some people, they gain their enjoyment by building industry and by having their, and feeling that sense of satisfaction. I'd rather go blow something up and take the stuff from them, and then sell it and make my money that way. It's so much faster, and you get the adrenaline rush. But that's I think the crux of where we are is. And I'm sure it's not just Golden Horde. I'm sure that this is throughout all of New Eden.
For sure.
We're sitting around, and as we're growing, and as the kind of the novelty of the game is waning, and we're becoming more established in our spaces, and our spaces are becoming safer, so there's less natural content there, and less natural strife there. We now, yes, we're in a war against botting, but we still have to, our spaces are quite safe. We get a little random gate camp or something every now and then, and we go blow it up. But by and large, we have to go out and actively seek content. So how do we stay focused as an organization, as a culture, on a common good when it isn't knocking on our doorstep every moment? And how do we make sure that as we're achieving that, and when we're in these kind of backward bends of the rubber band where there's a lot of slack right now, there's not a lot of just easily accessed content. Drone lands haven't opened it back up yet. Sovereignty hasn't launched yet. How do we make sure that everybody's having fun and has a motivation to log into a game?
And I think I just want to say, do you want to go ahead, Haiyooo?
No, I'm patient. I'm good. I'm here for everybody to talk, not just me.
Something that you mentioned, Rand, that I think is worth talking about is the culture.
Yeah.
So I think part of the strife, some of the aggression that has come up in the discussion of how do we move forward in a way that works for everyone, is born out of fear that by allowing different structures to coexist or allowing different styles of play to coexist, that we'll lose the culture of the Horde. And I can't accept that. I think the culture of the Horde is the fun that we have. The culture of the Horde is born out of defending our space together. The culture of allowing people from different languages. I love that we now have translations of stuff all over our Discord server, that we get everything in different languages. I'm not going to offend people by pretending to know what they all are, but I know that there's some Russian in there, and I love looking at the Russian. I can't read it, but it just makes me happy to see
today that in a charter discussion, we literally had Russian being spoken in a charter discussion.
Yeah.
With a translator, so that we could all be on the same page.
Yeah.
So that is the culture of the Horde. The culture of the Horde is not the rule set that determines who you can and can't buy ore from, or where you can and can't rat, or where you can and can't mine, and how you do or don't have to equip your ship to do those things. Those things are not culture. They're rules. They're policies. And to equate culture with policies, I think, is a very dangerous thing, because by the very nature of having so many players now, as Rand brought out, in different regions who do different things, who operate in different ways, and who come from different places. So we come as humans from different language groups and cultures. So we have different ways that we like to do things because of how we were raised in the environment we grew up in. To say that by allowing different policies to coexist, we're going to destroy the culture and the unity of the Horde, I think is a logical fallacy. That doesn't make sense. If I want my miners to equip drones and you want your miners to equip newts, and that we can still, I can mine over here with my drones and you can mine over there with your newts. That doesn't destroy the culture. That's a really dumb. Yes. Okay.
Points. But again, as a military guy, I'm sitting there hoping somebody jumps into my belt. When Legacy puts a bunch of retrievers in a belt, we could probably take out a Gila. But just to...
But if you want to clear your base every time it gets to level 5, and I want to clear a base every time it gets to level 10, the fact to try to say that we can't each have space where we can do those things differently because it would destroy the culture of the Horde. I think that's just ridiculous. I think the culture of the Horde is bigger than the policies that we may or may not want to set. And I think that fighting over policies is that's the problem right now.
Yeah.
That we need to stop fighting about policies so that we can have a culture of the Horde. And that's my appeal to those who might be watching this, is let's stop fighting about policies. Let's make space for people to have different policies. Not in every system, not so that every time you fly into a system you have to learn a totally new set of rules. But if we can have areas where groups of like-minded pilots can set policies, reasonable policies that don't infringe on anyone else's rights as pilots, that is what would allow us to preserve the culture and the unity of the Horde, because it would help reduce the amount of fighting and discord warrioring that everyone's having to do, in my opinion. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. It's important that everybody gets heard, right? I have always been, again, military style. I want to be able to react like this to anything. I don't want to have to wait for a committee or a vote. Doesn't mean we can't discuss it later or somebody can call me out, and I'm good with that. I make mistakes. I don't make all the best decisions. But, you know, I had a chat on one of my old communities from EVE Online, Alki, that I gave a shout out to earlier, still CEO. And I said, hey, man, just correct me if I'm wrong, but do we know of any democratic nullsec alliances in EVE Online? Mm-hmm. And he's like, why do you ask me that? And I'm like, help me out here. So, and the moral of the story is no, I can't think of a single one. It doesn't mean that there's a dictator that says set your policies, right? What it means is that there's usually a singular one or two people that set the vision for the alliance. You know, Vince Draken is the NCDot. Well, at least was. I've been retired. I don't know who's there now. But he set the moves on for what was going to happen. But each, you know, he still had teams underneath him doing things like Lady Scarlet running the rental empire and just different things. There was a CEO council of where we all come together as CEOs, and then even a director council from all the corps. There was no one filtered out. As once you were a trial member, and that trial member was set for 90 days or whatever, and either you were out or you were in. There was no him hauling around, right? But there was. That would be nice. Right. Yeah. It kind of takes because at the end of the day, you got to take emotion out of it, right? You know, like, oh, I don't know how I like this person. Well, you can't be the judge of everyone, right? Because at like the same time, you're trying to make things fun for your players. We're trying to make things fun for our players. And we see that two totally different ways. And NetEase is playing games with us and changing the role. Right now, you can go sit there with a group of miners and make less minerals per hour than I can running T8s solo. And that's sad, right? That the state of the game is in such influx right now that policy almost is irrelevant by way of patch, right? So we have to stay flexible, and we have to acknowledge through our identity isn't just solely based on policies, that it's an objective for everyone to have fun. And everybody has that initial thought. We want everybody to have fun, so we're going to have rules so you can have fun. I don't want you kicking over my sandcastle. And that's sad. It's super sad how the whole claim system worked and all the drama that has gone around claims. I have been the.
I don't even have a duck with that race. I do very little ratting, but I do agree that
you can't have a say so in ratting policies. Damn it! You know what I'm saying?
Fine. I haven't tried. I have not tried to have a say so. Are you kidding? I have not touched those conversations with the 15-foot pole because I don't work that much.
Right. You want to hear me lose my mind? Like I told you earlier, when they tried to say let's call T8 bases, and I'm over here like T8 bases are the only one. I mean T8 anomaly specials that spawn are the only ones making money right now. What the hell are you doing? Stop the madness. So yeah, I mean, it's you can't have a bunch of Discord people that don't know the ebb and flow of the game, right? Because yeah, T8s 3 months ago were impossible, no reason to have them around. But tier 8 systems now is like the new tier 4s. Like everybody's got to do it.
Easy mode.
Right. So
and we can clear tier 10s relatively easily now. Just bring a few materials with you.
You don't even need that. Come on, just call me. I'll do it.
A Guardian, a Logi, and some shooty bits. It's fine.
Yeah, but they take a while. I promise you, it does
take a while.
If you have a bunch of materials, it just goes faster. Or just any ships with large weapons, Nagas, Hurricane, or Tornadoes.
I like that Rand's answer is just throw some battleships at it. Everything will be okay. And
I mean, again, it's cultural things. I'm Legacy.
We should throw some battleships at the SPC. That'll fix the whole problem.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so
firing squads
from my point of view,
no firing squads.
We want to hear from you, but go ahead.
From Bo's last announcement, it was about SPC opening up, right? Basically dissolving the old model and replacing with an elected council. What do you guys think about this new model? So basically giving more voices to more people, to basically everybody, more corps.
That is currently to be determined. That is part of the Discord warrioring that is taking place right now, and part of the philosophical conversations that are being had. In for anybody who is an officer in your corp, highly recommend, as Bo said yesterday, these have been opened up to allow more voices into the room, to allow more perspectives to be heard. Get involved, watch what's happening, provide feedback. Whether if you don't want to speak up, provide feedback to your CEO, ask your CEO to speak up. This is a very important moment as we do look at what is the future of the Horde and how do we build a system of government for the Horde that is fair, democratic, and scalable.
Exactly.
I think the scalability is critical.
Yeah.
And I go back to, it has to be fun. If it's not fun, then people aren't going to play. They'll go play Cyberpunk or Assassin's Creed Valhalla or whatever else that they're finding to be fun. So, we've got to make sure that we're engendering a culture of fun. It's a game.
And a lot of the question really does boil down to how much control over policy do you... The fundamental difference seems to be, do you set all of your policies at the top and they apply to everyone? Or do you allow smaller groups, however you want to define those, to set some kind of policies based on those players and their location? And so a lot of the disagreement has come from how much power do you put at the top and how can you spread out the power to the bottom so that everyone feels like they have a say, everyone feels like they have a voice and that they're being heard, but without gumming up the system so much that nothing ever gets done ever, right? Mm-hmm. Because I will absolutely concede that if it just went to all of the corps every time to come up with a solution, right now you're talking about 40 some odd people trying to come up with a single solution. Obviously that's just
disaster,
not practical. So you have to have some structure at the top that says this is what seems like the best way to move forward. Mm-hmm. But you want the corps to be able to say, yeah, we agree with that, or no, that's not going to work for any of my pilots.
Makes sense.
At the end of the day, you just need to surrender control to Supreme Chancellor Haiyooo, and we'll
as long as you keep leading us on impromptu raids or outnumbered 2-1, those are the most fun.
Yeah, so I let that go. So when I left
let that go.
Yeah, I really wanted to get to that because it meant something to me, Rand. So I wanted to give a shout out. When Rand sent me a message after he saw me leave, he said, "Hey, dude, what's wrong? Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I got to take a break. There's some, ideological differences, and I'm going to focus on family for a little bit." He's like, here, let me read the quote because it meant a lot to me, dude. But I mean, the long and the short of it really being, the fighting two to one numbers, 3-to-1 numbers, bouncing around like crazy with no fear, and that was the most fun I ever had in the game. And that was pretty much your quote, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that hearing that from your pilots, like after the fact, because all the time after you end a fleet, you're like, oh, thanks for the fleet FC. People say that, and that's cool and everything. But to hear somebody say, I got into PvP, because the way we bounced around and we were fearless, it was an amazing experience. That's what kept me from disengaging from the alliance entirely, right? Like, because you get that little burned out feeling and you just want to step back entirely. But hearing that it brought somebody up in a training level, like you succeeded through the ranks, and it hooked you on the game and the PvP aspect of it, or at least helped feed that desire. That's why I was here. That's why I was doing what I was doing. And it was able to remind me of that. So I appreciate that. And I think that should be the idea of all of this, right? We have to hook people on the game to succeed because we need pilots to stay. And I think our policies should be driven to keeping pilots long term. And right now there's not a lot of objectives. And like you said, that's caused system-wide. Well, it's also called retention problems, right? Because people are like, okay, I'm going to go play Capture the Flag in 2 months when they release this. That sounds fun. But there is content to be had. I'm here to tell you, I watched Tahini's videos when they did like the 30 versus 180, and just the excitement in his voice. That's probably the little bit of adrenaline I've gotten watching a YouTube video, is you could hear it in his voice where he is like anxious. No, if you're not in the bubble, you're gonna die. I mean, he's just going so fast. I love it. And that's what I live for. I live for that adrenaline. I'm a freaking firefighter that's adrenaline junkies, paramedics, all of that. We live for adrenaline, and that's what I want in this game. I want us to have a good time, and I want that to be able to happen when I'm not around. So seeing that come from Rand, hearing Polobot and Rand step up and take fleets, seeing Evalia turn into the FC that she has become, that's what it's all about for me at the end of the day. We got a bunch of people that do Discord. I challenge them to stop doing Discord text, get on a video conversation with the person they're trying to work something out with, because it's a lot harder to tell Evalia your idea is stupid when I'm staring at your face, and to say it in a more tactful way that's constructive and actually gets to a result, right? If I just blow you off and then just like, oh, I hate Evalia, she's so dumb, this idea never works. If I'm having that frustration in my mind, it's completely derailing me from reading your true idea and then having that conversation with you. So I really hope people.
What's funny is most of my ideas, I'll be like, this is based on the conversation. This is how it goes. I listen to people talk and their different ideas. And then I go, okay, so based on what everybody's saying, it seems like this might be the direction that we want to go. And I'll type it up, and then I'll be like, if this is a dumb idea, somebody tell me this is a dumb idea and give me a better solution.
Yeah.
So if there's a better way, please somebody give me something to work with. But just being like, your idea sucks, that's not helpful.
Right.
To circle back a little bit though, to again that morning raid, I mean that taught me a lot. So at the time, kind of my place in the game, I was very active, had no confidence with PvP. I was, again, no background to EVE Online. I was a relative latecomer, relative to most of the leadership here, to EVE Echoes, and was somewhat, afraid to lead PvP. I was more than happy to go and fight and have content, and maybe I die and maybe I don't, and I don't really care because you can always get new shit, right? You just buy one, or if you're Zan, I guess you build one. But for me, I'm like, I'll just go do it this case, and I'll buy one, right? I'm like, what's this building shit? Like, I ask around. If no one has one available, I go to Jita, whatever. But
build ships?
I'm told that you can. I still have one construction slot. So, but that morning, it was like a wake-up call to me that, hey, you don't have to have it perfect, and you don't have to win, right? Your objective doesn't even have to win. Your objective can just be, let's go have fun. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's what really turned me on to it. And I was like, well, then screw it. There's nothing to do PvP-wise. Sorry, pardon my language. I don't know if that's a ban, but I'm like,
No,
I'm going to just go start taking fleets out. And maybe we'll win, maybe we'll lose. But we're going to have fun. And so every time I take a fleet out, whether I expect to win or not, my goal is to make sure that our pilots have fun. Right? I don't want to fly us all into a death trap so we all instantly die. But as long as we get to go have fun and content, and it's worth it. I mean, that was the inspiration for what we did last week, where we attacked 3 bases at the same time throughout Vale. Right? We had pilots, and we were outnumbered across the map. And I can't get into too heavy OPSEC, but we had hundreds of pilots from both Golden Horde and allies stay across 3 primary battlefields across Vale, with additional pilots roaming throughout South Tribute and in between. We had used a variety of different tactics with different groups, having different responsibilities, and many of the pilots there don't even know about some of what the other pilots were doing. And did we achieve the objective of taking down 3 citadels in Asia Prime Time? No, but we had a lot of fun.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure we won the ISK war, although I can't quantify it, because after we were done, we sat in Obi and locked every Firefly and DP and everybody who was going home. We locked them all up as they came through. And so many of them had auto lock back on and auto attack back on. We got between 20 and 40 kills to the gate guns after the combat was over.
No.
It was delicious.
That's awesome.
But it was fun,
classic.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that we can take into our PvP and our PvE engagements. It's something we can take into our industry, and it's something we can take into our rule setting and our government and our Discord discussions, is that we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have everything be aligned exactly in our favor or exactly the way we want it, as long as we have the mindset of, we're going to go have fun. Right. We're going to go have fun today. Then it's still a win. And I heard from pilots, and they got their ships blown up, but they said, that was fun. And that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal in a game. Yes, we want to win the ISK war, and yes, we want to secure a territory, and yes, we want to do all of these other things, but we want to do all of these things so that we can continue to have fun.
Right.
They are a stepstone. They're a part of the pathway. That winning the ISK war and securing our space is not the objective. It's something that is a goal to allow us to have the most fun.
Well said. Yes. Well,
we may have to end on that note because it's getting late and I am so tired.
Yeah, we're coming up on 2-hour mark, so let's
plan on my keyboard.
You're gonna have to do some editing on this one for sure. It's all great content, just that the time slot. Who's gonna watch a 2-hour YouTube video of people talking?
I will.
Well, if you could, time remarks though of where different kinds of conversation take place, then
Sure.
That way people can watch the parts that they
so
want.
Maybe an edited TLDR one and the full convo here. It's one way to do it.
Timestamps. But let's end it. Definitely, there's so much more to be said. Let's do another episode, maybe just to continue another day. Yes, but let's close it up. Evalia, last words, shoutouts, final thoughts.
Shoutouts, final thoughts. If you are exhausted from Discord wars, take a break. Turn it off for a period of time, whatever you feel you can do. Turn it off for a few hours. Turn it off for a day, whatever you need to do to recharge yourself, because that's important. So if you're tired of Discord wars, designate some time for your life and turn it off. And then when you come back, you'll feel better. That's my suggestion.
Haiyooo?
Yeah, I mean, through all this, and if anybody sees this not in the Horde, everybody has growing pains, and we got huge real fast. But I hope that we all sit down and talk not type. Talk to one another. I think that would have solved a lot of problems early on with me in the military, as far as in the Admiralty, if we would have got on video and just talked it out. So I encourage the leadership to really try that. Fly safe.
Okay. And Rand, you have the last word. Fun.
I don't. I mean, fun, obviously. Just Leon, thank you for putting this together. I've never been on a podcast before, so my first time, and this was fun. I appreciate the good conversation, and it was nice to just sit around and chat with everybody for a little while.
All right. Again, just to echo what Bo said, we are the only people trying to have a democracy type of governing body in this game. Everyone else, like you guys said, nobody else has tried this. So let's see where it goes. We're all about the players at the end of the day, and I do hope Haiyooo, you can still be around and helping new FCs and helping everybody. Rand, you keep doing your awesome thing, and Evalia, keep. We've been so involved with each other. People don't know, but we run. We do like university together. We do everything. I don't know how you do it. You do so much more than I do, really. So it's been a pleasure. So thank you guys. Again, let's do this again. We're sorry we have to go, but let's do this again some other time. More fun conversations.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Right.
Final shout out. Sorry. Final shout out to the what is it? Fight Night, organized by McPoopy. Fight Night this Saturday. It's 9 a.m. West Coast, noon East Coast, which is 8 p.m. UTC. Please join us. It's a lot of fun. It's one-on-one faction cruisers. 2 billion ISK rewards. Check it out. Yeah. And check out our shop. Support our artist. ghgears.com. Okay. Thank you for watching us. 2 hours exactly. All right. Awesome. See you guys next time.
Take care.